Hi guys, Matt V's Movies back for another video, and today is another sort of what's on my mind video. Been doing a few of these of late, and I just want to sort of chat about where I think um, physical media is going to go sort of within the next sort of 5 years. So we're going to get into that today on the channel. Okay, so yeah, we've had news from Sony that they're going to be ceasing production of recordable media, Blu-ray recordable discs. I believe the final sort of factory is going to be closed down in February of this year. So that's obviously sparked a lot of conversation about where physical media is headed. Some saying, they feel that it's not going anywhere. Whereas others are thinking that it could lead to a further decline. Okay, so I'll tell you where I sit in this conversation, and AJ and myself have discussed this on a live stream recently. My thoughts on it are that, as from a collector's point of view, I do believe we are in the golden age of collecting. There's some, lots of collector's editions coming out. We're seeing them ramp those up, certainly in the UK. We've had collector's editions around for some time, but they've usually been available in the sort of East, the Korean, China regions, Film Arena in the Czech Republic, this kind of thing. But yeah, we're now seeing in the last couple of years the UK really ramping up sort of the collector's editions. And we've had them in the past. We've got the Star Wars one there, the Back to the Future one, and get sort of tins like this that have been produced, and these have been produced over the years with steelbooks and all this kind of thing. But yeah, we are seeing very much the 4K format coming along with these collector's editions. Do I think that's been oversaturated? Yes. Very much like the steelbooks, we seem to get a collector's edition for every film now. I don't necessarily think that is warranted for every film. But again, nobody's saying that you have to pick up all of these editions. And from my point of view, I certainly am not. Going forward, I'm really only looking at the films that I like. I've amassed a great collection over the years from all different countries. I'm quite lucky to be able to collect these things, mainly second-hand. Occasionally I'll pick up a new release, but it's not something that I will be sort of ramping up and sort of getting lots of these releases going forward. Okay, so let's get back to the sort of main subject, which is, where do I see physical media in 5 years' time? Well, we've already seen two companies exit the Blu-ray and 4K player market, that being Samsung and LG. At the moment, we still have Sony and Panasonic still producing players, and some great players they are. Now, I have done a video before talking about, what happens when players are cease production. And, I do think that will be kind of the end of certainly new release films on physical media, because the studios will say, well, the electronic companies are not producing the players anymore, so there's no point in us producing these discs, because people are not buying these players. It sends a clear signal, unfortunately, to these companies that people don't want this. Now, at the moment, I think we're still at a stage where Sony and Panasonic still think it is worth producing these players. But with this news of the rewritable disc stopping, is this then a continuation of possibly Sony in the future, either possibly the end of this year or in the next year or 2 years, deciding that, you know, it's time for the company to stop producing the players. Now, we've seen it with PlayStation, which is owned by Sony. The PlayStation 5, they have produced a digital version now. I don't know whether they're still producing the disc version, but I think, again, with the games industry, it's very much moving away from the physical disc, and it is, you know, virtually digital. I mean, again, I'm not a big gamer, but I do know that even the discs that you buy now are almost like a key that gets you so far into the game, but then you have to unlock more digital content. So you're paying sort of more money sort of online kind of thing. So I think that very much has been moving towards that, you know, side of things for some time. Now, again, yes, there are lots of streaming sites that are sort of on the internet now. Yes, content is sort of staggered throughout different platforms, and yes, some of the prices of these streaming sites are increasing. There's more adverts on there. Some people are getting fed up with it. I don't know how many. I would say the casual viewer is not really that fussed about these sorts of things and will accept it. You know, I mean, with TV for many, many years, we've always watched films with adverts in. You know, they obviously feel these streaming sites that's the way they want to go. Will it push people back to physical media? I doubt it. Not for the masses. So my prediction will be that if players are ceased by Sony and then probably Panasonic, if Panasonic's just left in the game, one manufacturer might just think, you know what, it's time for us to give up the ghost on this as well. You know, my prediction would be that probably in the next couple of years we might cease production of the players, and then I would say by the 2030 at the latest that we'll see a steady decline in the production of Blu-ray and 4K and even DVD releases, certainly for new films. I do think the boutique labels will certainly continue with the catalogue titles for some time. Whether that extends beyond 2030, obviously the jury's out on that one. But you know, we'll still see these probably being manufactured in smaller numbers. The downside to that is that with smaller numbers means higher prices. And, you know, as a physical media collector, you're going to be faced with the fact that you're going to see ever increasing prices on these things. Again, that pushes more people out of the collecting market. So eventually it kind of has the opposite effect of actually putting people off. But that's ultimately where I see it going. Probably by 2030, you know, there'll be very little left. There may be some small companies, off-brand companies that still produce the players. We've seen it with vinyl. There's a bit of resurgence with vinyl. VHS players, I don't know whether they're reproduced now as smaller companies. And obviously there's still a big second-hand market for players. You know, I may consider at some point sort of getting a second-hand copy of a multi-region player, probably a Blu-ray player, when it's at the right price. I think that would be a good idea. And possibly if I could get one that's DVD multi-region as well, because I do have a few Region A discs as well. So that might be something I look at. But yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say that physical media is dying, because there still will be a strong presence, and I still think there will be a lot of channels, certainly on YouTube, and, you know, communities in Facebook, Instagram, that will still love to show their physical media off, me being one. You know, I see the way my channel going, and I've already started it with the 3D reviews. Let's look at these editions. Let's look at these films. Let's talk about the films rather than just collecting all the time. Let's watch and enjoy the editions. Let's share our passion, share what's in these collector's editions as we go forward. You know, not all of us will have picked up all of these things. You know, some of these collector's editions, as time goes on and they become, you know, sort of harder to get hold of, we may see the prices increasing, who knows? Or it could go the other way and actually they're literally just aren't worth anything, you know. We do see that with CEX now, you know, the value of DVDs and Blu-rays for exchange is next to nothing in Music Magpie. So yeah, I think it'll all depend on the type of title it is, what's involved in it, and you know, yeah, how sort of accessible it is and all this kind of thing. But I would say that, yeah, let's keep physical media alive by showing what we have. Let's get that emphasis away from sort of the new titles that are coming out, because that will be a thing of the past, certainly I think within the next 5 years. You know, I don't want to be a doomsayer, but I'm sort of being realistic about this. You know, this is the way technology goes. Most people that would have bought films in the supermarket would be casual viewers, you know, mums and dads doing their local shop, picking up a film on DVD for their children. Now they will subscribe to Disney Plus or Amazon or Netflix to watch children's content, you know, or if they were just buying a film to watch one particular night, they will just have their subscription, you know, and they'll just sift through that particular subscription at the time. I do think that people will be a bit more selective about which streaming site that they subscribe to. You may see people subscribing to, say, Netflix for 3 to 6 months and then swapping it to another one, to Disney for a few months, then to Netflix, Amazon, possibly, because if you do a lot of shopping on there, it's kind of the whole Amazon package, so you're getting the free delivery. But yeah, I can't see people having lots of subscriptions because the prices are going up. But I can't see streaming ever going away. I think it's here to stay. I think a lot of people find it convenient, an easy way to sort of watch media without having a sort of house full of discs. You know, and again, that's a space thing. A lot of people think, well, you know, I don't have the room to put all this stuff in my house. So, you know, there is that. So, yeah, my prediction is 2030, we'll see the end of new films being produced on physical media. We may still see some boutique labels producing, you know, editions of films from the past. But it might happen sooner, you know. It all depends on, like I say, when those players cease production, that will send the signal to the companies, to the studios, that physical media is no longer, you know, going to be played on these players. And the only way that you're going to be able to do that is by a second-hand player. Right, well, I've talked for enough now. I'd be interested to hear your thoughts down in the comments of what you think on this subject. I know it's very divided. A lot of people are saying, no way, physical media is not going anywhere. And then others are kind of saying, yeah, it's definitely on the decrease. Unfortunately, I do fit into that second category. You know, not that I want it to go away, but it just being realistic of where technology is going and how people consume content. And I'm not just talking about the um, collectors market, the physical media community. I'm talking about people around the world, you know, lots of hundreds of millions of people that watch films. The majority aren't really that interested in physical media anymore. You know, it's had its time. But as collectors, we can keep this stuff alive by continuing to show it on our channels. As long as we've got the players, second-hand players, we can enjoy this stuff and we can share the movies that we have. And let's be honest, a lot of these films that are coming out now are, you know, not that great, very forgettable. Whereas some of these films here, I mean, Jaws, for example, you know, absolutely fantastic film. You know, made in the 1970s. Let's talk about that. You know, let's show off the editions that we have for these films. You know, let's chat about it and keep physical media alive in that way. Please give the video a thumbs up. That really does help me out. Tells YouTube that you like me sort of rambling on like this from time to time. And if you're new here, why not consider subscribing to the channel? Hit that subscribe button down below. Come and join the channel. Like I say, I've got a wealth of playlists showing all sorts of films, mainly sci-fi, action, a little bit of martial arts, comic book films, a little bit of horror, thrillers. Yeah, I've got a good collection, not a huge, massive collection like some, but you know, I've got some nice titles that I can show and, you know, keep this physical media alive and enjoy it. Thanks for watching the video, guys. Take care and see you next time.